What is up? Barefoot Cacique here. Let's go do some barefoot things in our beautiful watermelon patch. That is watermeloning quite well, if I do say so myself. Alright, so I wanted to show you guys the difference between the male and female watermelon flower. So this way, if you don't have pollinators in your garden, or you're growing them in containers somewhere like a lanai, you're growing them indoors under a grow light, you know, you gotta get it how you can get it. But essentially, if it's indoors, you're not gonna have pollinators frequenting your flowers, or maybe for whatever situation that's going on in your garden, you just don't have pollinators visiting like that. This is another way to get them going. When your watermelon first starts growing, it's gonna grow all of its male flowers first. Personally, with all of these vines here, each one of them, as they started flowering, they flowered male flowers for about, I would say, a month straight. It was just straight up male flowers. And then we started getting a few females. I think we have about 3 of them now. And another one just decided to pop up, so I figured I'd show you guys today, and this is what it looks like. And as you can see, it has this fatter stem, which actually is a little watermelon. These guys over here have much skinnier stems. That's how you know those are males. It's just a flower with a skinny stem underneath. Now you'll know your female flower has been successfully fertilized a day or so after you or one of the bugs pollinated, when the flower actually closes up, and you'll notice the little baby melon will actually curl up towards the bottom of the vine. That's when it'll start doing its thing and becoming a little cute baby watermelon. I actually have a couple of watermelons that have already started to do their watermelon thing. So let me see if I catch this girl. So right behind our tomato plant, we have one of our little watermelons that got pollinated by our good friends here at the garden. And she's doing her thing. She'll be a cute little watermelon one of these days. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pick a male flower from somewhere over here. So let's just take this little guy and pop him right off. So some people like to pull off the petals just so they could get that little pollen bit. And we're just gonna go right into Miss Watermelon here. Luckily, this patch is frequented by plenty of pollinators, so we got them all over here, all over there. They just make their way through. So here's a pro tip. I like to use what I call my gumbo approach. As you see here, there's a tomato growing in the middle of the watermelon patch. That's one of many plants that we have in here, because what we have going on in the watermelon patch right now is what you would call a diverse ecosystem. So there's a bunch of different weeds and other seeds that sprouted that actually benefit from one another growing in the same environment. For example, guanabanas love the shade, so what a more appropriate spot for them to start growing than right here amongst the watermelon. Soursop are definitely one of my favorite plants to grow. They grow pretty rapidly, and they'll kind of like just shoot up through anything. You can bury them pretty deep and they'll break their way through. They're kind of remind me of tamarind, the way they will just break through the surface of the dirt, no problem. It's actually kind of gangster how they do it. But yeah, they both tend to actually, in their seedling stage, like a lot more shade than most. And as we've learned, guava, especially baby guava, absolutely do not love the sun like that. They also need shade. So if you got a couple of like shade loving little things, definitely go ahead and toss them in with your watermelons, because they'll provide just the perfect amount of shade while it's getting nice and sturdy. But like this tomato plant here, this girl is doing pretty well. She's pretty tall. She's got an established stalk. She's looking good. And it's kind of like she's used the vines of the watermelons for support, in comparison to our tomatoes that I actually had moved out of the watermelon patch initially. I moved these 3, and they're not loving it so much. I think they would have preferred to be back in the watermelons, but hey, experimentation. You live and you learn. But yeah, I hope you save some of your watermelon seeds, get to planting, so you could have a beautiful watermelon patch too. Oh, and another little quick tip. What I like to do is, this was my compost bin for the longest. I kind of stopped doing that, and just started throwing all the compost right into the dirt and then burying it. And this way you get all the little worms, all the bugs. They don't have to try to find their way through the holes in there. And hey, the watermelons are just growing. They've been growing progressively over this way. They kind of started right where that stick is. That's where that whole garden ended, and we actually ended up extending it all the way back here so it'd have some more room. And I've been spending the past 3 months just throwing kitchen scraps and compost and you name it, chamomile, lavender, leftovers from my tea right in here. So yeah, try it out. Compost straight into the dirt. Let the plants grow over it. Let them have at it. Also, another garden hack: weeds are free fertilizer. This weed has a crazy little seed head, and then this whole garden will end up becoming these guys. So before it goes to seed, we just pull it and toss it back in there and let it provide some nutrients for the watermelon patch. Same goes for like little sprouts of grass. They'll shoot up, toss them back in there. Plant food. All right, so it's just about noon now, and it's super hot out there, so we'll let the watermelons soak up all the sun for us. But yeah, that's how we could do things the long and harder way. But if you want to make your life a little bit easier and you really want to bring your garden to life and not only just bring beauty from the flowers, but also just invite on a whole bunch of awesome native pollinators, look up what wildflowers grow natively in your area, and definitely get some in and around your garden. And one, will save you a lot of time, and two, will bring a lot of beauty to you. So happy gardening. I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
But wait, there's more. Hang on to your seat, baby.
Okay, after careful thought and review with my other master gardener, those watermelon are gonna need a lot more space because we also had some other watermelon that volunteered themselves. So all of this, we're rolling it up into sod bits, so we get sod barrels, rather, bales, whatever you want to call them. We'll try to reuse them because we already saw these watermelon guys and these watermelon guys, but I totally forgot that I had just dropped some watermelon here, and it is now turning into more watermelons. So that is going to be interesting because that plant there is not going to take kindly to neighbors, but we'll figure something out. But working on some real estate to make that a reality, so we will keep you updated. Salud. So I've torn up so much grass at this point, it's a little bit insane. So this whole area from here over was all grass, and then from about here, in the last video you'll see it too, a lot of this stuff was like kind of like pushed back into this corner. This was like a tiny, thin, skinny little area we had here, and it just was like impossible to support all of this watermelon life that is coming, and it is coming furiously. So we needed to make an adjustment immediately. So what I did was me and my brother actually tore up this whole area and just let it kind of be for now. We're gonna get some peat moss ASAP because peat moss will actually help hold in all of this moisture, because the sand here in Central Florida is notoriously sandy. So we got a lot of sand and not too much rich, nutrient dense topsoil. So we're building that up little by little. But from here, this is the first watermelons that I actually transplanted into the ground. So if you look, I would say this is probably one of the original leaves. It's a little lighter in color, a lot smaller. It was kind of struggling at first when it went in the ground, to me it seemed, but it's starting to do really good. It's been raining a lot recently, so watermelons love water, so they're doing very well now. Also, what I've done, I actually, if you see this here, this like a white material, this is actually watermelon rinds that I blended up in the Vitamix, and it was literally just the rind, like a piece of rind, blended it up in the watermelon, in the Vitamix, and it came out like a foam, and actually poured it over where I transplanted all of the ones I started in cups on the patio, because I didn't want them to dry out in this like very intense sandy climate, because all of this sand, it like intensifies the heat more than like your regular topsoil or mulch or something like that would. So that's the thing. And you see this this is why we end up with guanabanas every and anywhere. Look at this one. Let me see, it's already like sprouting. I think the sun crisped it, but yeah, they're just all over the place. So they just start growing and we just let it happen. We have no problems with the guanabanas around here, or watermelon for that matter. But anyway, so all these guys are going to be that variation of that big 10-pounder whopper. So I'm looking forward to that. And there's just, like this cluster right here. So these were all transplanted individually. Those are all like, maybe I put 2 in each spot, just in case, one doesn't make it. So we have 2 in each one of those spots. And then this little cluster you see right here was actually kind of unintentional. It was a piece of rind that I just dropped there. The seeds fell in, and I just kind of like pushed the sand back over it, thinking that, yeah, there's no way it's gonna grow in sand. But it looks like, it's funny because in Spanish, watermelon is sandia, so maybe it does like sand and we just don't know about it. So this one actually, from the minute it popped up, like if you look at this like sprout leaf, the little round one, it popped up with the color variations that the watermelon actually had on it, the rind. And I was surprised. I was like, oh wow, that looks way better than the ones that got started in the patio. So that must mean something. I honestly feel like, just from the ones that I've seen that's popped up, that they are gonna do better than the ones that started in cups. So another example of that is, well, here's our little compost bin. So as you see, well, one, it's full of flies, but all of those little seeds, I'm sure at some point are gonna start popping up as sprouts. I absolutely have no more room for these watermelon because they are going to run us out of space. But if we get some more sprouts out of there and you want one, please feel free. Let me know. If you're in the area, I'll definitely gift you a watermelon, because I'm totally game. Everybody should have watermelon in their house. These guys, more random ones that just like popped up. We got how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4 that just popped up of that big juicy variety. Now, here's a perfect side-by-side comparison. This is another cluster that just accidentally happened. These guys fell in the dirt and all popped up. There's probably way too many there for all of them to survive, so we'll probably have to thin those guys out and kind of like readjust. But if you look at those and look at how lush and green they are from the beginning, like their first leaves that come out are usually these round little guys. All the round little guys were bright green and like with the deep color variations. These were the ones that I started on the patio as well, and you see how they like yellowed, and it was just like very intense for them at first. So I feel like it stunted their growth, because these had been in for like a whole week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before these even sprouted out of the ground, and they're already way ahead of these guys, and they are essentially in sand and all on top of each other, and they're doing great. I didn't pour any of that like slurry mixture on top of them. These guys did get them. My garden is kind of sloped, so everything kind of runs down this way, so that foam kind of got removed. But what I've been doing is just keeping a piece of this on top of there. It keeps the soil moist, and kind of holding the moisture for the watermelon, and feed it at the same time as it decomposes. So that's cool. So that's one thing I noticed about the watermelon, like planting directly into the ground versus starting them somewhere else and then transplanting them, especially here in Central Florida, because the sun is brutal in the middle of the day. So that is my watermelon saga. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this 2-for-1, or more like 3 or maybe 4-for-1 watermelon saga update. So I hope this has inspired you to rip up some of your own grass and grow something you could eat, because you definitely can't eat grass unless you have a cow. Then they can eat your grass, but I doubt that's the case. But anyway, we'll definitely do another watermelon patch update when we're ready to harvest. So that'll be technically part 2, but actually it's only like part 5. But yeah, this has been fun editing and splicing it all together and all that fun stuff. So I hope to see you guys back here soon. Happy gardening.